this one. All right. This card is one of the most powerful cards in the game.
Staff of Domination?
No.
Is it an artifact?
No.
Is it one color?
Yes.
Is it green?
No.
Black?
No.
One of the most powerful cards. Blue?
Yeah.
Okay. Does it cost less than 3?
Yes.
This is a Gavin Verhey TikTok. Cost less than 3. Does it cost less than... Is it cost 2?
No.
So it's 1 cost?
No.
The 0 cost?
Yeah.
Oh, it's one of the suspend ones?
No.
0 cost blue. Oh, it's one of those ones where if you don't pay for it at the end, you lose?
No. Say basic island.
Fuck you. I deserve that. So, Magic the Gathering as a game is filled with different formats for different kinds of people. We've got modern, we've got pre-modern, we've got postmodern revolution, we've got Dance Dance Revolution, and we've got Commander. And we can all kind of agree that the one card through all formats that truly should be banned is the basic island. Welcome to Casual Compliance Nights. Does that give you the break to put the things in? Or are you just going to stamp on our faces again?
I just thought you were going to say your name.
Oh, hi, my name's Gramps.
I'm Chili Ben.
I'm really looking forward to the lower thirds in this one because I'm on fire.
Yeah, there's about 30 minutes of bullshit before we started this that I will have to cut out.
Yeah, you deserve that though. We didn't even clap, so like to make it easier for you.
It's fine. I end up just scrubbing through it until I find where we start.
Anyway, I've still got a shit hand, and you may have noticed, because this will probably come out first, even though we've recorded episodes before this, I got short hair.
Yeah. It was surprising to everyone involved.
I didn't tell anyone. I literally didn't tell anyone. And I rocked up to work the next day, and people said that if I had clear frames on, they wouldn't recognize me.
Really?
Yeah, they wouldn't.
Even with the mustache and everything?
No, because I'd got rid of the mustache.
You had, that's
like,
right.
Everything was
Yeah,
gone.
because you turned up for D&D, that night?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And gone.
Yeah.
We are doing nights again. We're going to do nights. Intermittently.
Every now and then.
Infrequently. That's a rhyme.
I would say whenever we find something worthy of a whole episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it kind of comes to the thing where we talk in our Discord and I'm like, nights, ? And you're like, what are we going to talk about?
Yeah. It's like, hey, I'm down to record. We've got the rest of the band list to get through. Yeah. That's easy.
Yeah.
But for this, it's like, do we have something that will be more than like a 10-minute chat?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the last 2 band list episodes felt like 10-minute chats. Look, when this comes out, the drama's going to be in the dust, but it's still worth talking about. There was an RCQ in the city, which is a regional qualifier, I believe. I don't know what this is.
Where was it, though?
In America.
Yeah, right.
Somewhere.
Okay.
Sorry, Americans. Wasn't here, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And the thing with RCQs is that people that, play RCQs often trying to get into the Pro Tour.
Yeah.
And you have to win so many games, and if you win so many games, it's even like individual games in the matches. You have to win so many games because you finish on a table. You know how we did the sealed?
Yeah.
That table you finish on.
That matters.
It matters because you've got the overall game wins and stuff like that.
Is it just about final placement?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it can matter.
It can very much matter.
I have another story related to Ultimate Frisbee about this that's very funny.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
If you can't tell, we're going to be talking Ultimate Frisbee. Frizzly.
It is
Are you allowed to say Frisbee? Is that not?
So it's one of those things where a company owns the trademark to the name Frisbee, but that is not the disc that you use in the sport of Ultimate, which is its official name. But everybody just calls it Ultimate Frisbee because that means people understand what the fuck you're talking about.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, I play Ultimate. It's like, I play Fantastic. Like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, I mean, that's what I do with Magic the Gathering as well.
Yeah.
But I play Magic. People are like, how do you play Magic? Like, oh, no, the card game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I gather it.
Basically. But so there was an RCQ. Well, this came out about a month and a half, about 6 weeks ago. Maybe a bit longer.
And right now, for posterity, it's the 22nd of June.
Yes, it is. So just after Modern Horizons has come out, Modern Horizons 3 has come out.
Yep.
This was a Modern Horizons RCQ event, is my understanding, maybe.
Right.
Something like that.
Yeah.
But there was a match between two players, where one of the players was a game win away from going to the Pro Tour.
A game win, not a match win.
Like a game win away. It was game 3 of their match.
Sure.
So.
Okay. So tensions.
Tensions.
High.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Was the other player in a similar position? That was just the matchup.
That's just the matchup.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, the game win didn't come.
Mm-hmm.
Both players, due to a ruling, which I'll explain in a little bit, were handed a loss. And then communication broke down.
Handed a loss by a judge.
By a judge.
Yeah.
Yes. Then communication broke down. It led with players getting removed from Magic Halls. It led to... it was that DreamHack in America. Sorry, I just remember that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Players being removed from Magic Hall.
Jeez.
Twitlongers of over 20,000 words being posted.
Yeah.
People targeting judges with death threats and the rest, which...
Hey, straight up, don't send death threats. Like, in some places, that's a crime.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In Australia, it's a crime.
Yeah.
As someone who works in a field where you get a lot of death threats, we report all of those to the police.
Yeah. Just don't do it. It's a shitty thing to do, but also it might be a crime where you live.
Chargeable offence.
Fucking check that before you ever think about it.
Yeah, and don't think about it.
Yeah.
And if you do think about that stuff, please don't watch our show. Like, I genuinely am happy to lose that watch.
Yeah. Bye.
Leave.
Yeah.
Like, we talk a lot of shit on CDH players and stuff like that because it's funny, but like we don't think they're going to do that.
We talk shit and then immediately say, it's fine, we don't play it.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
I respect the format, I just don't want
for us.
to, I don't want to do it.
Yeah, but we are here to shit talk people that send death threats. Anyway, so what happened? I'm going to give you not the full context because 30,000 plus words of Twitters and
I want to go to
stuff.
bed tonight. I don't have that kind of time.
Exactly. But I'm going to give you the general gist of things. A paragraph from the person that copped the loss that was going to go to the PT and the band.
Sure.
Their post, I'll send you the link so you can put it in our comment area if people do want to read, because we're not here to take a side. We're just here to say what happened and then give our thoughts.
Yeah.
And talk about conversations around the game as a whole. So, they're in game 3. The opponent plays an Otawara and then passes.
It's a channel land, right?
It's a channel land, but it's just a land, which in a tournament like this, you're not playing those lands first turn unless you have no lands in hand.
Sure.
Yeah. And that is important to the story a little bit.
Okay.
Then what the person who got banned plays their stuff out. And basically by turn 4-ish, it sounds like, according to this, their opponent has nothing. They've whiffed on land draws.
Right.
And they've got a board state where they will win.
Yeah.
And then what happened was the opponent... what annoys me is there's not a clear answer here, but you're not going to remember with all these emotions, so it's fair enough.
Yeah.
The opponent says, Can I look at my top card? If it's not a land, I'm just going to scoop.
Okay.
Which, I know we've done this in Commander games where
I've definitely scooped then looked.
Yeah.
Because you can't just look at your top card.
Yeah.
So
it's like a free scry.
Yeah. So I don't think I've ever done the conditional concede.
Oh yeah, no, true. I'll cop that. Yeah, I've scooped and then looked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I'll look at the next 1, maybe 2 cards and be like, oh yeah, no, I had no way back. And that's more of like a reinforcement to myself of like, did I make a mistake in conceding? Because that's also something I want to learn when, like, better how to make that judgment call of like, oh, I'm behind in a bad way. And like, that's just feedback I can get on my own deck of like, would I have found a way back?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Can I look at the top card? Can I look at my top card? If it's not a land, I'm just going to scoop. And yeah, I agree. I've scooped and then looked.
Yeah.
And we've all seen on the videos of Pro Tours, of anyone that's watched Pro Tour Magic. I don't know if you've ever watched Pro Tour Magic, but
Bits and pieces.
you see where games are like going out to, this person needs to draw a very specific card from their deck list to pull it back, they'll like open hand and then pull the top one onto the board. And if it's not the card, then they'll shake hands and the game's over. It's really exciting. The tension's great. Any Hogak game
like,
ever.
you can choose to reveal your hand.
Yeah.
That's your choice.
Yeah.
But you can't look at your top card for free.
Yes. And this is where the ruling comes in. You can't improperly determine a winner.
So that's what it comes down. Okay.
So the IDW rule is what was used here. So a judge overheard this conversation, sat down at the table and asked, apparently clarified, is this what's happened? The answer was yes, that's what's happened. And then the judge says, cool, I have to hand you both a match loss.
Because the other player agreed to it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the opponent asked, can I do this? And the other person said yes, which means they were going to improperly determine a win.
Yes.
The IDW rule. IDW is a term that refers to using or offering to use any method except for playing Magic using the deck that is supposed to be used to decide who wins.
Yeah. Okay.
The most common example of this is dice rolling or flipping a coin, but it is not limited to that. Another example is when time is called, revealing the next few cards of the library to say who would have won if it didn't go to time. So, like, you know how we time matches and you have the draw and then 5 turns?
And then what? Entering that as a win or a loss?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Which I fully fair enough.
Like, I've done that and, like, had that theoretical discussion, but I haven't then entered it as anything other than a draw.
So, entering that as a win.
Yeah.
Or a loss. Yeah. And, like, you know, you and your teammate, you and your opponent could have that conversation, but in a lot of these RCQs, there's like 400 players.
Yeah.
So you making that decision in the end not just affects you and your dreams of going to the Pro Tour, but 400 other people.
Yep.
So I can understand why the rule exists. It's also like, and I hate it, especially as an Australian, it's a streamed sport.
Yes.
There's gambling involved. There's
I hadn't really considered that angle.
There's advertising involved.
Yeah.
It's match fixing. There's there's legal ramifications. If you're gambling on an RCQ, what happened to you? You had so much promise.
I don't know. I kind of want to see what that looks like.
Oh, I gamble on it all the times.
There would be favourites.
There would be,
of course.
Yeah, Brian Kibler every time.
Yeah.
He was in an RCQ recently.
Yeah, he was. Yeah. That's right.
I think he played Lantern Control or something.
The Dragon Man is back.
But I understand why the rule is followed and why the rule exists. Yeah. It affects a lot of people, not just one.
Every sport has rules like this.
As two AFL supporters.
Yeah. Because match fixing is a problem. Like, it affects the integrity of the sport, and then also there's potential.
It's why people stopped watching the NBA. It's like there was major match fixing problems.
I just feel like the only time I hear about match fixing is like some B-grade cricket league out of Southeast Asia or something. Like, what is happening?
It's always great because those the people gamble on those like proper.
I know.
Anyway, so the ruling happened. Then communication got poor. Both players of the game basically pleaded for the rule to be reversed. Multiple judges were involved.
Right.
And eventually it led to someone being removed from the hall. And their report...
Does any of that go into why?
Well, not in a way that supports both sides.
Okay.
It's one of those things where one person said everything and the other people said, this is the ruling.
Yeah.
This is the rule we followed. Yeah. Everything else from that is from that.
Yep.
The person that got banned said, basically, the head judge said to them, no, this is my hall. You're not welcome in here.
I mean, kind of true, right? Like,
yeah, and it is sad, but like it should never have gotten to that point.
No.
And this prompted me to talk to Chili about that the spirit of the game again.
Yes.
What is the spirit of cricket?
Like
Dave Boone's
a wide world of sport. I mean, before we get to that, it's probably worth I actually explain Ultimate Frisbee a little bit.
Yes.
So it is a team-based sport, 7-on-7. The field is roughly the size of a soccer pitch, but it's a rectangle field with 2 rectangular end zones. So you score a point by catching a pass in the end zone. The way that winners are determined is really interesting. It has, like, it's always about who scores more points, but it can be capped off by time limits. So normally, I think nowadays the rules are like first to 15 wins, and halftime is at 8.
Okay.
So halftime
Once
is,
someone gets to 8.
yeah.
Nice. I like that.
Yeah, it's like whatever the points cap is, which is always an odd number, half that and round up, and then that's what the score cap is to go to halftime.
Truly is Magic the Gathering.
It is a bit.
Half rounded up.
Yeah. But you have time caps, that's just to assure the tournament keeps going, because like if you're playing to only a score cap, a game could legitimately go on for 3 hours.
Yeah.
If it's just like back and forth, turnovers are happening. But what happens is like you get to a soft time cap, and then you finish the current point, you add 1 to the highest score, and that's the new point cap.
Okay.
And then you play to that.
Okay.
And that often means one team has to score 1,
Yeah.
and the other team has to score more.
Yeah.
Obviously, otherwise they'd be tied, I guess. Oh, that
Yeah.
could happen. No. Yeah. Anyway, it's been a while since I played. I've been out of the game for a few years, but that's largely it.
Want your lower third to be retired ultimate
I
champion.
might do that to myself. But so there's a few interesting things about the sport. One, it's fully non-contact, despite the fact that it is incredibly athletically demanding. Like you are sprinting, catching, throwing, diving for catches. The movement patterns are very similar to that of like an NFL wide receiver.
Yep.
Like you're making really hard cuts, hard runs in one direction, sharply turning
Yep.
to basically break away from your defender.
AFL.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's about it. Like, and the other super interesting point, which leads into spirit of the game, is that it is, I think, one of like 2 sports in the world that is self-officiated. The players are officiating themselves, making calls as the game is happening, and when you make a call, there's like rules of how that all gets resolved, and most of it comes down to have a discussion and work out what actually happened, and then that's where you have to know the rules, but that's where you go, okay, when this happens, this is the sequence of how to resolve that.
Yeah. So I think I play the other self-officiated game, which is pickleball.
Yeah, well, okay, I think before pickleball, the other one might have been like curling or something.
Yeah, okay.
Like before pickleball even was a thing,
Yeah.
it was like 2 or 3 sports in the world
Yeah.
work like that. And the crazy thing is it works like that all the way up to like world championships.
Nice.
Once you get towards the like really top end of the sport, though, there are game advisors, and I think I talked about this on the last night's episode. They are there as a non-binding extra perspective.
Yeah.
So if you have your discussion and it's kind of going on a bit and there's no agreement over what actually took place, then the game advisor can step in, or you can ask for them. Often they'll step in when it gets to like 30 seconds or so and just be like, hey, do you need an extra pair of eyes? And they will sort of tell the 2 people involved what happened, but they don't have to take that as like a ruling. It's just extra information that might sway it one way or the other, and then you would hope that people go, oh yeah, that sounds about right actually.
Yeah, fair enough.
2 against 1.
Yeah. You'd think.
But at the same time, if you go a certain amount of time and there's no agreement, then you take the disc back to sort of whoever threw it, and you basically just undo the whole play.
Okay.
And everyone goes back to roughly where they were, and then you just resume play again.
Yep.
And treat it like it never happened. There's a lot of like nuance and
I like
stuff in
that.
there, but that's kind of how a lot of it gets resolved.
Rewinding a Magic game by 4 turns.
Yeah, I mean, I've done that in Commander games where it's like you forget if you played a land. It's like, okay, well, let's just walk back. Like, I'll take stuff off the board and be like, okay, I did this and I did this. Okay, yeah, I didn't play a land. I'll put it down. So that's Ultimate. Spirit of the Game is a system within the sport of Ultimate to reinforce self-officiating actually fucking working at all.
Yeah. I guess one of the things with that as well requires buy-in.
It does, yeah.
And that's a huge part of this. What you're about to go into is people need to be able to buy into this. And if you're not buying into it and you're taking the piss, then don't be there.
Yeah. So part of the system working is that every player, when they go to a tournament, there are requirements they have to pass in terms of rules accreditation. So you have to like read the rules and then do a test and then give you a certificate, and you have to submit that as part of your registration to the event.
It's like everyone having to be a rules advisor to play it.
Basically.
Judge level 0.
Yeah. But there's like multiple levels. So like local tournaments, most of the time, I think you only need beginner level accreditation. There's advanced level, which is like, I think when you're playing like nationals and above, you have to have everybody with that. And that's because like when you're resolving calls on the field, you can ask other players for their perspective if they happen to be nearby and you can't resolve it. Because the other thing I fully forgot to mention. So when you're holding the disc, when you have possession, and you're looking for a teammate to throw it to, whoever is marking you is counting to 10.
No.
And if they get to 10, it is a turnover.
Nice.
But you can call. There's something called a fast count. So if they're not counting in seconds, and that's what you think, you call that. But that's so there's a
no fast manner.
Yeah, no fast manner. But I
like that.
But that falls into a category of calls that don't result in an automatic stoppage of play.
Yeah.
All the defender has to do is drop the count by 2, and nothing has to change. If they don't do that, then it becomes a stoppage. So there's like progressive steps to it as well.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Sorry. 8.
Yeah.
9.
That's one where like you might have a longer discussion and be like, you need to start again.
Can you put a little timer up on the...
Yeah. It's probably been 10 seconds now.
Oh, I'd be the worst.
Yeah. But yeah, to your point, like it is so baked into the culture of the sport that people who do shit like that repeatedly either get educated or get removed.
Yeah. Get in the know or get out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So spirit of the game, which is kind of where we were getting to with this episode. When you go to tournaments, you are given scoring sheets for spirit of the game, and those are to rate your opponents after the game, and you submit those to the tournament director. Like every tournament has a spirit of the game winner, and they also have like, a tournament winner. Spirit of the game winner is sometimes more coveted because it shows that like you played really well, but also were like fair-minded and respectful and like competed in a way that is,
you embody the game and you
you're living up to the ideals.
People can watch you and be like, oh, that's how it's played.
Yeah. And there's 5 categories that you rate the other team on. Number 1 is rules, knowledge, and use.
Yep.
So because everybody has to know the rules to be an officiator of the game they're playing, that's what you rate them on. So if they're making shit calls, or they're calling things improperly, or they're just not calling things at all, like if they're just letting fouls go, it's like, well, you actually are supposed to be part of the system working.
Yeah. That's why I only play Magic with level 3 judges.
Are there level 3?
I have no fucking idea.
I think it's just 1 and 2.
No, 3rd level.
3?
I'm here for 3rd level.
Okay.
Even if they don't exist, it's because you're not good enough to know.
Okay.
I'm fucking...
Level 3 judges are for the underground casino version.
Yeah, we're playing Magic on Canto Bite, baby.
We're playing money matches in a hotel basement.
Hey, we're still playing Ante.
Yeah. Ooh, shit. Kind of want to do that. No, I don't. Category 2 for spirit of the game is fouls and body contact. So non-contact sport, but at the same time, when you get to the top end of the sport, people are competing incredibly physically. Everybody's incredibly fit. There will be incidental contact that is just kind of understood. But if that's all it is, that's fine. If people are kind of like using that to add a bit extra and just being like, well, that's just competition, baby. It's like, not for this, it's not.
As someone who dislocated his finger playing netball, netball is a non-contact sport.
No, it isn't.
And it's meant to be in the rules of non-contact sport, especially mixed netball. And there have been games where we've been so frustrated with the lack of contact calls that we actually felt unsafe.
Yeah.
So we've left. Yeah. Like we've gotten off the court, and it's, we've actually gotten in trouble for that.
Yeah.
I like this a lot.
There's still 3 more.
And that's what I mean. So I'm giving my little takes on each individual. But this one as well is like, if you're handling my cards and you're not handling them in a way that I appreciate, that's a 0 for the contact.
Yeah. And like under these, they have examples. So like, they avoided fouling, contact, dangerous plays. They played safely. That's great.
Nice.
Category 3 is fair-mindedness.
Okay.
The examples they have here are like they apologized in situations where it was appropriate. They informed their own teammates about wrong or unnecessary calls. So it's just like you're playing, both sides. You're upholding the rules, not your team's outcome.
Nice and even.
Yeah.
It's like if someone's like, oh, did I play a land this turn? And it's like, you're a land down. I don't remember you playing one, so.
Yeah. Benefit of the doubt.
Benefit of the doubt, other than being like, no, fuck you, keep track of that.
Yeah.
Like if someone does it all the time, you're like, you got to keep track of that.
Then you have a word. Yeah.
But even then, you probably would still say, look, you can, but you have to pay attention to it.
Yeah. Category 4 is attitude and self-control. This used to say positive attitude and self-control, but I guess they've updated that. So this is a lot of like understanding that at high level competition, there's emotion, there's adrenaline. People will say things they might not otherwise. This is kind of meant to reinforce that of like, were they able to like put a lid on themselves and just have the discussion that they need to?
And
Yeah.
I guess it loops back up to the one above as well. Of like, if things did get heated, did they
Yes.
self-regulate and apologize?
Yeah, it's all things like, they play with appropriate intensity irrespective of the score is another thing. Like if you've got a team that is grossly outmatched by their opponent and they're still like approaching the game in a way that like is
Aggressive.
then that's maybe not the most appropriate choice, but
yeah. And Commander is such a politic game. Moving away from RCQs and looking at this in a Commander lens.
Oh, we will do that once I've finished.
It's like things get heated sometimes.
Yeah.
You get taken out of the game early because of whatever happens, and things can get upsetting. So I can see that where this would be an implementation.
Yeah. The final one, number 5, communication. Just communication.
Just talking.
Yeah. It's like, did they listen? Did they communicate respectfully? They kept discussions of reasonable limits, and that's again like there's nothing in the rules that actually say 30 seconds or any specific time length. It's all like reasonable.
Yeah.
That just became sort of a norm. Was like, if it's going on longer than 30, 45 seconds, like it's probably time to just call it a contested call. Have the disc go back. Let's just reset and keep going with the game. Right.
And I think one of the things like with that is you want the game to be flowing. You want it to be moving, but you want people to be doing things.
The other part of it too, something that got introduced while I was playing is hand signals. So every call has an associated hand signal because the field is 100 meters long.
Yeah.
Someone on your team might be fucking 60 meters away. They can't hear the discussion, but there's a stoppage and you need to signal to them what's happening.
Okay.
So there's a bit of sort of extra accessibility around that as well.
I like that.
Yeah. So these all get, like I said, submitted to the tournament director after every game. If there are teams grossly underperforming in their spirit scores, sometimes during the tournament they will be spoken to by the director. Often what it means is after the tournament, either the team will internally reflect or someone will have a word to them and be like, hey, I really think you guys need to do better here.
Yeah.
It's a team sport and this only works if we all do it.
Have teams ever been removed from tournaments because of spirit, do you think?
Not in anything I've experienced. Like, I'm pretty sure players have been.
Are there individual player ratings as well?
No, but all of these like score sheets have against each category just open space for notes. So like if there's specific events that you want to make the tournament director aware of, you can put it in there.
Nice.
There is also a mechanism, so you have a regular timeout in the game, you get like a certain number for your team. There is also a thing called a spirit of the game timeout, which is something that you can call if the game is going so fucking poorly from a spirit perspective and you just want to stop everybody, reset, and just go like, hey, these things are happening and we need to cut it out because it is just not in keeping.
Love that.
Yeah, it's not keeping with any of the systems.
Amazing. Yeah.
And the wild thing is that as much as it sounds like it might sound a bit like, I don't know, if you look at like full contact sports, people who play those might look at this go, that's soft, what's wrong with you people? But like, it works. Like, it fucking works.
Yeah.
It's wild.
It's there was a time when I would watch AFL and, be so ferociously supporting my team that things would happen. I'd be like, we got cheated out of a win, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And I've started enjoying all sports more when I took away the bias, angry lens and was like, it's a professional sport.
Yeah.
It's
an entertainment product.
It's exactly. And it's like, it's first of all, not important. I know these people are getting paid money to live their lives. Awesome.
Yeah.
Glad they can. I'm not. The thing is, it doesn't affect me if we win or lose.
No.
And it shouldn't. It does unfortunately affect a lot of people when there's wins or losses. But like, we should be able to emotionally regulate that stuff. But when I stop looking at football with a lens of like, oh, that person cheated, or that was that dodgy thing there, and more of just like, oh, look, did their best.
It happens.
Or they didn't do their best and that was disappointing.
Yeah.
But like, it's the only reason they lost is their own.
Yeah. So the other anecdote that I remembered as we sort of started this episode, so I played at the World Club Championships in 2014. So there's World Championships every 4 years. Club champs are every 4 years. That's where you play with your actual like local club team against local club teams from around the world.
Nice.
And that's like offset by 2 years. So Worlds, then 2 years to clubs,
like the
2 years to
Winter
Worlds. Kind of. I kind of think club champs are better because it's the people you play with every year as opposed to this team that's from around the country that's just jammed together.
Yeah.
Anyway, 2014, we're in Italy.
That's rad.
Yeah, it was fucking sick, dude. It was near like
fuck?
it was like near Lake Como, staying at this hotel with like a bunch of other Ultimate teams. It was a great time.
Rad.
We
know
so
this.
so like yeah, I think it was like a 48 team competition. So put into pools to start the tournament. We were in I think we were tied at the end of our first round, like the first pool round. I think it might have been like a 2 or 3 way tie. We ended up going through to the power pool, so we went up just on points differential.
Yeah.
So if you can't determine it based on like certain things, it goes down to like who scored more points against their opponents.
It's a percentage.
Yeah.
OGW and all the
Yeah,
rest for
yeah.
Magic players.
That sort of shit. So we went up into the power pool having won 1 game. In our power pool, we got into a 3-way tie. And we went up based on points differential to get into the top 16 teams in the world.
Far out.
Having won 2 games.
Wow.
We then proceeded to lose everything else.
Oh, damn.
So I think we played a total of, it was either 7 or 9 games. We won 2 of them.
Yeah.
And we were the 16th best team in the world.
Fuck yeah.
So that's where, like, again, high-level competition. People went into those, like, game to go, to go up, knowing that whoever won would go.
Yeah.
Or we didn't even know that because we're like, we have to win by a certain amount to have a pretty good chance. And then it depends how all these other teams do. And it's like, we were fucking nervous that night.
Yeah.
Just sitting there going like, just watching the results, like, how'd this team do? How'd this team do? We knocked out a team that we might have had a historical rivalry with, and that was pretty satisfying. But it was stuff that was before I was in the club, so I didn't know about it. But
it's like when I went to that modern event and I played mono green control.
Yeah.
And I made that black player scoop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you're doing weird shit.
Yeah, I splintered his swamps, and he read it, looked down at his desk, and looked down at like the cards in front of him, read splinter again, read the fact that his swamp was an artifact, and picked up.
So good.
Yeah.
But yeah, and so like there was obviously tension, anxiety, nerves, adrenaline, all of the above. But everyone's still kind of like just accepted that like these are the systems that we're playing within, these are the rules. You know, this was all stuff that was like outside of actual games. This was just like the structures of how a tournament runs.
Yeah.
And we were at the mercy of some math
Yep.
and some tournament directors like figuring all this shit out, and other teams, how they went. And it was a wild fucking time. But like, yeah, sometimes that is just how these sorts of events go. Like sometimes it does for someone come down to one very small thing being the thing that makes or breaks it for them.
100%. They can in a lot of these things there can only be one winner.
Yeah.
And you know sometimes there can only be 16 winners. Like there's only 16 people that go through to the PT.
Yeah, right.
And you're one game away from that, but that means someone else was one game in it.
Yeah. Yeah.
To look at your odds with a myopic lens is detrimental to your own mental health and then eventually to everyone else's. Hopefully everyone's put it behind themselves, but then, take it to the lens of the commander and the casual format. I'm not saying Ultimate's a casual game, but the spirit of the game feels like that it wants at the end of it to be done.
Yeah.
Like, and for everyone to enjoy it.
Yes.
The Pro Tour, the RCQs can very much feel like meta-heavy spaces where it's cutthroat, people want to win.
Yeah.
Board advantage and known information and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen things where it's like, no, you're expected to know what I've played. Like, I played in that modern tournament, people were writing down the cards I was playing.
Oh yeah, I've seen that like on coverage and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, cool. Yeah, so you remember what's in my deck.
Yeah.
I'm perfectly okay with that because I understand that.
I've revealed that to you by playing the card.
Exactly. And, you know, we get submitted deck lists as well.
Yeah.
And then when it comes to game 2, game 3, and you've got time to sideboard, that happens. Commander doesn't have sideboards.
No.
I mean, I know a general gist of your deck lists, and I play with you the most. There are people that I don't play against, and I will ask them what's in their deck, and they'll be like, oh, it does this thing, does this thing. They won't tell me specific cards, and I'm fully okay with that.
Yeah.
Sometimes people say, oh, this is the card to look out for. The people that don't communicate with me are the people I don't want to play with.
Yeah.
And the people that communicate their decks poorly or hide information, it's kind of like lying about their decks.
Yeah.
Like, I can understand you don't want to give away your deck and stuff like that, but if I ask you because I want to know, I want to have a good time, and you're not going to share that with me, then...
I mean, there's also an element of self-awareness there of like knowing what a good surprise is versus a bad surprise in what cards you put in your deck. Like, if I get like some random jank red spell that does some burn effect, it's like, cool, I don't necessarily need to know that that's in there. But if, it's like a Chandra's Ignition, I'd like to be aware that that might happen.
Yeah, I'm running Worldfire in Borborygmos now,
Yeah.
and people will just, need to accept that.
Yeah, yeah.
I've also put them in there after our
Do
last
not.
episode.
Because this is coming out before that does.
Oh, hey, look, bleep it.
I might.
And the good thing is it's not the other episode that we did that. Anyway.
Yeah. So I think the difference between the way Spirit works within Ultimate and Commander is that you can assume with Ultimate, because it's a defined sport, you know what's going to happen going into a game.
Yeah.
You don't need to have a pre-game discussion because it's like competitive Magic. You're going in because someone wants to win. It's 1v1. Casual Commander, by its definition, is 4 players and it's just a good time.
Yeah.
Like, that's paraphrasing a lot, but it is basically just the goal is fun.
Yeah.
The goal is not win.
Yeah.
I mean, you need a winner.
Both.
Yeah, you like, it needs to be
Fun
both.
first, win second.
Yeah.
Or in my case, fun first.
See what happens.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes I stumble into it.
Have you ever played a game of Commander where you've not had a discussion before? You've just sat down, deck, played.
Possibly at Command Fest, but we were playing so many fucking games, and it was with people we knew that it almost was okay.
Because I would argue, because I was there for that as well. It's like, even then we say, cool, what command is that?
Yeah, good point. Yeah. Yeah, sometimes that is probably like my bare minimum, is tell me what commander you're playing, let me read it. I might, based on what it says, I might ask you like, oh, is it doing this type of thing? And then I'm expecting to get a little bit more information.
Yeah. It's like, oh, cool, I'm playing Sigarda. And it's like, oh, cool, is it like typal? Is it, what is it doing?
Yeah.
Playing Urtet. Is it Mer or is it Graz?
Yeah.
So, and I think literally every game I've played, the 2 questions have been, who's your commander and do you have proxies?
Yeah.
And that's not so I can be like, ew, proxies, or ew, that commander. But it's so I can, then ask, a follow-up if needed of...
What proxies?
And what power are we playing?
Yeah.
Not even, I don't want a 7 or a 10 answer. It's just, cool, are we playing high power? Are we just playing kind of like general? Is it pre-con level?
Yeah, and that
doesn't say anything.
No, and that's kind of where like I expect some amount of honesty and self-awareness of like, when I say high power, you should... It's a thing where like we do need to define that better. Like, to me, high power is like someone's going to be ramping on turn like very early. They're going to get out in front fast. Like, usually the game's going quite fast and big spells are happening early.
Yeah.
But that definition based on the name high power will be different for every person.
And someone commented on one of our videos a while back that they should bring a points system into CDH, which is a 7-point commander exists.
No, it's Canadian Highlander has a point system as well. Like, that already is a format. You could just go play that.
It exists.
Yeah.
I hope that if you didn't know that, you know that now and you can play it.
Yeah.
Because it has a similar ban list basically. But I do understand that. But it makes me think of a Yu-Gi-Oh game I used to play on the Game Boy.
Okay.
Where it was called The Sacred Cards, I'm pretty sure. And it was like or it was like Duelist Island maybe. Stack
Yeah.
of cards, and you're on Duelist Island. You're challenging other people to duels, and the deck did have a certain amount of points, but it wasn't like, oh hey, you get 7 points. This is your thing. It's like each card had a point value. Every single card.
Right.
And you could have up to, like, depending on what level of jeweler you were, the level went higher. So you started with 2,000
Okay.
points in your deck, and then as you leveled up, you went all the way up.
Sure.
Like, it was really cool. I don't think you could do that for Commander.
No.
Imagine point valuing. Hey, Mark. Gavin. Hey, Gavin.
Gav,
you sent me that video when I was in the hospital.
no.
Can you please assign a points value to each and every single individual Magic card?
No.
I'm
Don't do that.
coming to Seattle. I will find you.
Don't.
I won't find you. That's really threatening.
That's a threat. Yeah.
I won't find you. But if I do happen to go past the office, I'm going to leave a little note with how much money do you think's good for that? Do you think 50 cents? How much was that card worth?
Which one?
The one we just did, 80 cents, I think it was.
Yeah.
I'm going to leave you a card with 80 cents in it. Let's assign a point value to every single card and then officially release that.
No way, dude. Utterly no way. I'm out.
I'm not going to find. I keep saying it really threatening.
Yeah.
I'm going to find Jim LePage's PO box and send him money and say, hey, points value, please. I'm not going to do that.
Well, the thing about like the point system in Canadian Highlander is it functions more like a ban and restricted list because it's saying
really
like
does.
it's saying like this card is so powerful we give it more points.
Yeah.
You have a points cap for your deck. Everything else is 0.
I think you got like 7 points and one of the mocks is literally 7 points.
I mean that'd be 7-point Highlander. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think Canadian might have a higher number that you're.
Yeah. I think it does.
Yeah.
But we don't play any of the point ones because
I mean it's an interesting format.
it's also
seven.
it's not a 4 format, but it's also not 100 cards. I'm pretty sure.
I think it might be because the Loading Ready Run show is called North 100.
Oh, rad.
Yeah.
Sick.
Yeah.
I've never watched Loading Ready Run, but I feel like I should.
They've got some good Magic stuff, man. Like the Cracker Pack series, they just open packs that people send them.
I think one of the things that, as a middle ground, because we shouldn't have to assign rules to the spirit of Magic.
Yeah.
But what happened at this event, and what I've seen from people that I know personally, but also people online, is that the game can be very abrasive. People that are trying to get into the game, don't know where.
Oh, right. You mean like people coming in who haven't played it before? Yeah.
A, don't know where, and B, can find themselves up against opponents who aren't incredibly communicative and thus have a bad time.
Yeah, it's not always the most welcoming experience.
When I introduced yourself and our friend Alex to Magic, it was in your living room.
Yep.
And it was the 3 of us.
Yep.
It was a Commander game for 3 people, quite brutal, but it was very slow, kind of, let's talk through it.
Yeah, I think we were playing we started open-handed, just like walking through everything.
Land's Wrath, Spirit Squadron, Slivers.
Yeah. Psycho.
Brutal to open
Fucking psycho.
But there was Slivers before it was as Slivers as it was.
Yeah.
And I think Land's Wrath still won, because Alex started his trend of winning with precons day dot.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good precon, man. I took a bunch of the cards out of that for a different deck.
I bought that on the day for $30
crazy.
at Good Game.
So good.
So yeah, I think I just fear for Magic. So the more people that play Magic, the more products they make. You know, maybe, I mean, unfortunately, probably drives the price up because capitalism. But you know, maybe they print more. Maybe they stop printing secret layers like a Supreme product.
Just fucking print them on demand, you cowards.
We did it once
It
before.
worked for so long.
Yeah, while the shipping to Australia was screwed and $100.
Oh, it got better during the print on demand time.
Oh, good, okay.
Yeah.
Because I remember it was $99 for me to get my Atraxa here.
Yeah.
And then it was $9 for the Carador.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
it's a win.
But yeah, I think like I have to assume I don't know. I haven't talked to staff at game stores, but I have to assume there are individual people going into game stores asking the staff, "How do I get into Magic?"
Yeah.
Or they're starting with Arena because that's actually a good way to learn.
A massively good way to learn.
But then they go to a store and they're like, "Hey, can I come and buy myself and get into an event or something?" Right? And then if that's a pre-release, that's probably the best of an organized event because it's meant to be everyone's seeing these cards for the first time.
Yeah.
But it's still a timed event. There's still rounds. There's still deck building.
Yeah, and deck building is one of the hardest things you'll do. You can't buy a pre-con.
I've been playing for like 2.5 years. I'm still shit at it. Yeah. Like doing time limited deck building.
Yeah, it's
like,
brutal. It's something that takes, like, I've been playing this since 2008, and I think now when we do events, most of the events I do finish quite well now. But then also I've gone on to the different route of I've started getting really silly with my deck building now.
Yeah.
So I am losing events, but I'm just having fun.
Yeah, I mean, we did that Modern Horizon 3 sealed thing at your house, and I put fucking Omo in there. Yeah, everything counted.
You and I came dead last.
Yeah.
And it was the most fun.
I was playing Eldrazi Omo. It was silly.
I should have played Mardu because I had the Sorin.
Yeah.
And I played Devoid, Chrysalis, and like Snapclaw. So like and it was just like, cool. I had basically 2 decks built. Yeah. Like, this is the one that's gonna power. This is the silly little Devoid one.
Yes.
That is like my history, my dreams.
Yeah.
And as you know, we get to the point where it wasn't a serious event. It was us playing sealed.
Yeah.
Like at my house.
Yeah.
So, and if this was at a LGS, I probably would have played it differently.
Yeah.
But if I was playing against, we had it again at that event that we went and we did the pre-cons. The 2 people we were playing with had been Magic for a month.
Yeah.
Or so.
Yeah.
And they were like, yeah, we're still wrapping our head around the rules. And you want to introduce people to the game.
Yeah, they knew enough to like do the basics, and then they'd be like, oh, I want to play this card, but I'm kind of confused about it. So we're just like, just show it. We'll just fucking play it out together.
There was someone at my workplace who we were talking after work, and he was like, oh, you like Lord of the Rings? I'm like, yeah. And he's like, have you ever heard of Magic? I'm like,
I've heard this story 3 times now. It still makes me laugh.
Yeah, I've heard of Magic. What? They bought out the Lord of the Rings decks. And he goes, yeah, no, I bought them. And my partner said, you don't know anyone that plays this game. Why did you do that?
Oh, boy.
Why did you spend several $100s on 4 Lord of the Rings decks, or 3 or 4 Lord of the Rings decks?
Yeah. And
I'm like, man,
that man bought a bag of cocaine and then realized he knows a drug dealer.
Yeah. Because I'm like, yeah, man, my car's just like downstairs, and I have $7,000 worth of Magic cards in them right now.
Yeah.
In my 8 Commander decks.
Yeah.
And he's like, what?
That's maybe going from 0 to 100.
So he got into Arena, and like you said, Arena as an entry point. The danger of Arena as an entry point is the Alchemy format, first of all.
Yeah.
Alchemy and Timeless, there are cards that interact with the game that do not exist in reality.
Yeah.
Which is fine.
But you have to know that. And how would you ever learn that if you don't kind of start doing paper Magic earlier?
There are errated cards like Cauldron Cat, or Black Cauldron Cat, or whatever it's called, which in paper exists differently in Arena. I think they changed the costs and a few words on it, but still. And then, because coding is hard, you would know that.
Yeah.
The rules are a little different.
Yeah, and there's also there's shortcuts they make for complexity's sake. Like the stack can only get so big, otherwise the game would crash.
They auto tap mana for you.
You can turn that off.
You can, or you can have it. If it gets to like treasures and stuff like that, it'll ask you how you want to tap it.
I've seen people have things get sacrificed to the auto tapper. It's fucking brutal, man.
Yeah. I as someone who plays a lot of Arena, a lot of Standard on Arena, I will. You generally just play with the game as it is, but if there's something I need to tap in a specific way, which I now hate doing, I will tap the mana individually, click the mana and then play the card with the floated mana.
Yeah.
I don't like floating mana. The way we used to play Magic, which was we'd tap the mana then play the card, is basically floating mana then playing.
Yeah.
Where now, and I noticed you did it at the sealed event, and I definitely made an effort to do it at the sealed event, which was put the card down, then tap.
Yeah. I did that more as a way for myself to be better about things like cost reduction, alternate costs, things like bargain, where it's like I want to announce the spell that I'm casting, then work out the final cost that I will pay, and then pay it.
Yes.
And that's all still the same action of casting the spell. There's not like actually changing anything.
Yeah.
But it just makes it easier for me to manage what I'm casting, because I can just put the card down, have it there, and then work out like, okay, I need to tap this many. Whereas I'm like holding it in my hand and going like, okay, I'm going to tap 3, sacrifice this creature for 1, do this, and then like, and the other people are just sitting there going like, what are you doing?
Yeah, what are you doing?
Yeah. Whereas if I put the card down, it gives them time to read it while I'm doing that.
Yeah, and it's like very much in the spirit of the game thing, where it's like, you get to read this. I'm going to do my stuff here, and you have to. There's a bit of trust there as well. Like,
once they come back, I'll be like, here's how I'm paying for that. I'll still make sure I've said that.
And it's more communication with the other person. It's like, yeah, no, this is what I'm going to do now. Here's the card. Here's my mana that I'm tapping, and then it also gives opportunity of like, and then here's my target.
Yeah, if you need to declare it, then
this is what extra stuff's being done.
Yeah.
Here's my green, blue, and 3 more, and then here's my Prophet of Crufix.
Yeah. No.
Good card.
Not in Commander.
I'm thinking of making a modern deck with Prophet of Crufix.
Yeah, sure. Go off, King.
So I feel like there would be a way that we could take those 5 elements.
We might have to change the 1,000 body contact one. I don't think that really comes into Commander.
Well, card contact.
Huh?
Card contact. If you touch my cards.
Yeah, I did have a thought about like, it's essentially respect for other people's property, but it's also like respect for just shit that isn't yours. That might be other people. Yeah. Too.
Playmats.
Yeah.
But also respect for your surroundings. As 2 people that want to eventually own an LGS.
That'd be nice.
/ bar. You got to respect the space you're in.
Yeah.
Like, no fucking flipping tables.
Yeah. I haven't seen that one, but I've heard of it.
Felt like it. In my own house.
Yeah. Your mum comes through, Lewis. Not again.
Damn it.
No more magic in the house.
No more magic in the house. But yeah, so it's sad that this event got to the place where people can look at this now and be like, is that what magic is?
Yeah. And
it is a one-off, but it got quite loud.
Of course it did. Like, people love drama.
People love drama, and I know at LGSs I've seen both the good and the bad. There was POG that we go to. I sat down at the table, and I love listening to every other game around me.
I love listening to them as I walk in, hearing cards and then hearing people react. Yeah. That's always nice.
I love listening to other games, because I'm definitely still paying attention in front of me. You always got to think about what you're doing and then react if someone's prompting you. But it's just always fun hearing like over here and hearing someone be like, no, this is my like first game of Magic. And then having the other person be like, oh yeah, man, this is my entire deck. This is what it does.
Yeah.
This is what your deck does and how it works against mine. But also here's how mine works against yours. Rather than, me playing Indominus Rex Alpha and then someone having Leyline of the Void out turn 0. It's like, I play 2 types. I play Graveyard.
Yeah.
And I play Typal.
Graveyard Typal.
I play Graveyard Typal.
Graveyard Kindred.
I am a Graveyard Kindred person.
Yeah.
Leyline of the Void is my worst enemy.
Yes. I should put it in a deck.
No! No!
I think I have one somewhere.
I have one. I know because I pulled that deck apart. I had one in my Eldrazi deck. Because it was all about taking people's cards out of their exile, putting them into their graveyard. But if
you get them back.
And then it goes back into exile.
Yeah.
And I can just do that infinitely.
Yeah.
I did that to you. It was like turn 4.
Yeah, like this episode, look, this episode's probably going a bit long, but let's take a look at this sheet again.
Yeah.
Let's see if we can come up with 5 categories on which to rate people after a Commander game.
Yes. And, there's going to be a lot to cut out anyway, so
yeah.
It's going to be an editing challenge for you.
No, it's just finding which bits to cut, and that's easy enough. All right, so number 1, like I said before, rules, knowledge, and use. I think...
Not everyone needs to be a rules advisor.
No, but I think there's an element in the way that this works in Ultimate where it's like, you're not assuming everybody knows every bit of the rules, even though you have to be quizzed and you should kind of know most of it. But there's knowing what you don't know.
Yeah.
And knowing when you hit a moment where your knowledge ends and responding to that appropriately. That might be calling a judge. That might be looking it up on your phone in a more casual environment.
Yeah.
that to me is, I think, where this one kind of sits. I don't know if I would even change the name of it.
I've really not. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I think...
Like, you want to be playing Magic correctly, and in times where you run the risk of not, making sure you take actions to correct it or educate yourself and the people in your group.
Yeah, it's always a learning opportunity. Like
Yeah.
someone... I am the worst for it because I have an approximation of the rules. I can't even kind of say the word. Like,
Yeah.
I know the rules. But sometimes the ordering of things gets muddled because there's 50 layers to a freaking...
7 layers.
50 layers to a...
Well, layer 7 is a bunch of sub layers. I've read an article recently.
Yeah,
It's very
it's
interesting.
an article.
Yeah.
But see, there's so many layers of
Yeah.
things and how they operate that sometimes you can get muddled. And it's not being like, oh, you're the fucking worst for that. It's like, no, you're wrong. And me being like, yeah, okay, I was wrong. What do the rules say?
Yeah. Yeah. As long as you haven't, like, broken the game by being wrong, which would be kind of hard to do.
Yeah. Usually when you're stopping the game for discussions like that.
Well, it's a turn-based fucking card game. You're always stopping for something.
Literally. It's the highest stoppage sport in the world.
Yeah. All right, the next one, 1,000 Body Contact. I think we can reword the title just to something...
Respect of property.
Something related to, like... Because I think it also goes beyond respecting property, because there's something about respect that you show to the game and the other people in it,
Yeah.
and their time and their effort. Like, if you are in a game and it's not your turn, so you're looking at your phone, that's pretty disrespectful.
-1.
Pretty rude.
Yeah.
I would have words with you actively in that moment. Be
Unless
like,
you're like looking up rules and we know that. But
Sure,
like, if you're
but
just on chat,
fucking Instagram Reels, like, get out of here.
yeah, use TikTok.
So I think I don't know. No, TikTok's
Yeah,
bad.
scroll at casual compliance, TikTok.
Okay, do that, but then get back into your game, please. So I think it's something about just respect for others, which is kind of just like a theme of this whole thing, but specifically calling it out as like...
Physical embodiment.
It's asking consent before you touch players' cards. It is showing respect to the other people and their investment in this game.
Hey, can I read that? Pulling out your gloves so you can touch their card without getting your grotty little cheesy fingers on them.
Unsleeving it, tearing it and eating it. Don't do that.
Checking if it's real.
Eat it with the sleeves on. So yeah, I think that one's pretty good. Fair-mindedness.
I do actually think this one can translate into Magic pretty well, because the fair-mindedness, especially in Commander, comes into things like the free mulligan, the did I play a land this turn? Oh, hey, I tapped my mana wrong.
Yeah.
And it's like...
rules is written, tough shit.
Yeah.
But a lot of more casual environments would be like, yeah, cool, you can untap it. You're not changing the amount you paid.
Yeah. You're just doing a different order.
Like getting caught up in the moment of casting a big first spell and realizing you've cut yourself off from casting the less exciting second spell that's in your hand still.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know, you're not going to do that every time, but that is where it comes into the fair-mindedness of, like, you know,
Yeah.
if you're doing it every time, you're not being very fair-minded.
That's right.
But if, like, you've made a genuine mistake in a casual game,
Yeah.
and someone's being like, no, take backsies, I would also say they're not being very fair-minded either.
Yeah, I think one that I've run into a few times is someone going, oh, I missed this trigger, do you mind if I do it now?
Yeah.
I'll let them have that once.
Yeah.
If it happens the second time, be like, that's twice now, like, you can have this one, but I'm gonna need you to start
Remembering.
managing that, or accept that you've missed it.
Yeah.
Because it feels like you're expecting me to do the labor you should be doing as part of this game.
And the absolute -5 for the fair-mindedness is people that say, well, it doesn't say May. Well, that's fine. Because like May ones are where you can be like, oh, it says May, so you missed it. But like people be like, oh, I missed this trigger, can I do it now? And then if you say, well, you missed it, so no, so well, it doesn't say May, so I have to do it. It's like, well, then don't miss it.
Yeah.
Then.
Yeah.
That's not really fair-minded.
Yeah, but again, like letting them have that first one is that kind of like benefit of the doubt idea of like, yeah, cool, we all miss triggers.
Yeah. And even like, for me, often it prompts for me to remind them the next time it goes.
Yeah,
and
that's part of it. That's part of it too. Is like if somebody's got a trigger off something you've done and you remember that, it's pretty respectful in a casual game to let them know and be like, oh, you've got a Blood Artist trigger over here, or whatever it might be. What?
Hope they come out at the same time.
I don't know, dude. The timing's funny. I'm not even going to say what that is.
Yeah.
I'm just going to say Blood Artist.
Yeah,
Blood
it's on our Twitter.
Blood Artist, Blood Artist, Blood Artist.
Blood Artist. I play Blood Artist.
All right, so the fourth one, again, attitude and self-control. Yeah, I think so. I'll read through the examples they have here because this might help guide us a bit. So they were polite, they played with appropriate intensity irrespective of the score, they left an overall positive impression during and after the game. So that last one really hits because like that'll mean I want to play with them again.
I genuinely think this comes down to the politics thing.
It's kind of just attitude.
It's that the joke of risk assessment is often thrown out there, like, oh, risk assessment, like, oh, they've got one island on the board, they're the risk, but like it does get to later in a game where votes are happening, people are on low life, and it's like, cool, who do we take out? And at the end of the day, accepting a decision that's being made, even if you're the person that's going to go out. What I love about Australian sports is that once the game's done, the game's done. Like, I don't think in Australian sport there's often a lot of bad blood after the game.
I'm sure there is.
Well, yeah. Well, look, at least from what I've seen in AFL, and this is the thing that AFL had as their messaging for a long time was leave it on the field.
Yeah.
Once the final siren goes, shake hands, walk off.
Yeah.
We learned that in club sports. This is very much the same. It's, you know, the politics will happen. There will be a certain intensity, but don't bring a bad aura of intensity to a game that is casual. Like, yeah, be competitive, have that competitive spirit, go for the win. But if it stops being fun, it's a full zero.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So that's, I think that makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Like it's all about attitude. It's about the impression you leave people with.
Yeah. It's like, hey, there's 4 of us and we're voting, but I get to vote twice. That's just not in the spirit of the game.
Hey, baby, that's just Tivit. That's just Tivit doing Tivit things. I love that deck.
So do I.
I love it so much. There's more than one card that says I get to vote twice or vote an additional time. I love conspiracies. The conspiracy set, man.
Is such a
so
good set.
funny.
Bring it back.
And Conspiracy 2, Take the Crown.
Look, let's get Conspiracy 3 going.
What's the subtitle? Tokyo Drift? Everything with a 3 is Tokyo Drift.
No, Conspiracy 3, Kamigawa Drift.
It would be. No, we did that with vehicles in Kamigawa. That joke's been done.
Yeah.
Conspiracy, then it was Conspiracy 2, Take the Crown.
Yeah.
Conspiracy 3, The King's Back. I don't know.
Conspiracy 3, The Spirit of Cricket.
The Monarch is Within You.
The Monarch Within.
Yeah, good.
Pyrus.
That sounds like a Star Wars movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the final category, communication, I don't think we're changing that. That's just everyone needs to be better about
no one
communication.
talks.
Yeah, I think, so like to get specific about communication, there's a couple things in my mind. One is honesty, you know, like accurately telling people about what your deck does in a pre-game discussion, being honest about what your cards do. I mean, everyone can see them and read them, but, you know, like not trying to mislead people about what you're trying to do, what your deck does, what's in the deck, any of that sort of stuff.
I think what I hate is like when I say to someone, hey, have I lost this? And they're like, oh no, you know,
You got a way back.
And then they literally just the next upkeep.
Yeah. I think there's also something for me about like one player exerting too much influence over a game, whether that be through like politicking really hard or like trying to redirect everybody to target someone who isn't actually like really that threatening.
Yeah.
Maybe that's communication.
It's also good because communication follows into all 4 of the other ones.
It does. Like it's a big
and
part
it's
of it.
Same with Ultimate. Like the communication goes for all of them because all of them are based in strong communicating. Now, not everyone has a strong communication style.
No.
But that doesn't mean they can't communicate well.
Yes.
And there is a balance there. Half of my job is understanding how people are communicating and then meeting them at their level.
Yeah.
And that's why I feel like the communication aspect is easier for me in this, is because I can be like, cool, this is how you're communicating. I'm going to meet you here.
Yeah.
At least in Magic.
Yeah, and I think for me, something that I've experienced in my professional career working in software is having to explain deeply technical things to people from a like less or non-technical background. Like even in my workplaces, like working with, you know, whether that's designers who come from a more visual design background that haven't worked so much with code, or it's like project managers, you know, people that like are moving things around that are not bits of code, and being able to explain to them like changes I'm making or things I'm working on in a way that they understand and can help me like, you know, solve problems in different ways. So when it comes to Magic and I'm talking about like cards and what they do, if someone's not getting it, then I'll be able to quickly find another way to explain it, which is saying the same thing, different phrasing, different sequencing, maybe using examples, analogies that I didn't use the first time. And that's been really helpful as well, is having those skills. But again, like, not everybody develops those skills at the same time in the same way. But it's, approaching it genuinely in an effort to try to be better is kind of all I would ever ask. Is if you're not like getting your point across, like, let's just slow down. The game doesn't have to rush. Let's just work it out, get it right, and then we can move on. And then over time, those skills will develop.
And so, sometimes it's also about playing things out as well. It's like, cool, this is what's happened on the board. Let's go through each little thing step by step to make sure it all resolves properly.
Yeah.
Especially as things get later in Commander games, it takes a while for stuff to resolve. And you want to do it in order to make sure things are done properly. And, if you feel like it's not being done right, you clarify it and slow it down more.
Yeah, especially if, you've got a bunch of triggered abilities and you have to really stop and think about the stack. If you can't work out the stack just talking it out, get some bits of paper and fucking write down what the effect is, stack them up physically, pop them off, do the next one. Like, there's ways to make it easier for yourselves.
The big one is, like, I've seen with our lords and then wide damage.
Yeah.
Because, like, the lord is a 2/2.
Gives
Everything else is bigger.
1. Yeah.
3 damage put on every creature. The lord dies first. Well, the lord dies, but then everything else is dropped down again. So everything that was at toughness 3 is now back down to toughness 2, but has 3 damage marked.
Yeah.
So then they die.
Yeah.
And so I've seen, I've had it turn into an argument where it's like, no, everything is wiped because your lord is wiped and then the rest of them were wiped.
Yeah.
So
because damage is worked out after that.
Literally, damage doesn't get cleared until the end step.
Yeah.
So it's just about how you communicate that and slowing it down to make sure everyone understands what's happening.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, I would still, like, if we were to turn this into some sort of actual system is maybe the wrong word. Like, I'd want to workshop them a bit. Maybe the names could get a bit tightened up.
And we could
host
the most casual tournament ever.
It wouldn't be a tournament because it's Commander.
Oh no, I was thinking I'm like imagining it was rule set with modern.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Or like Pauper.
Yeah, but again, like, to go full circle here, Magic doesn't have anywhere you could reinforce this. There isn't like post game like surveys.
Yeah.
There's nowhere to put this information.
Yeah.
This is more something that, like, if we were to host a Commander event as a hypothetical, like, putting this up as like, here's some suggestions, some guidelines of, like, if you feel like you need a bit of structure when it comes to giving people feedback about a Commander game or anything sort of that might fit these categories, like, here's some suggestions. It's not meant to be like, go and rate these people out of 5.
Yeah.
It's more just like, here's some extra structure to think about this stuff from from a sport that kind of uses it as its entire backbone.
Exactly. And if it doesn't work out for you, take the rules of wrestling, put them through the table.
That might get you kicked out. I was about to just jump on it. Break this folding table.
Fuck it, we don't live here anymore. So
no.
I don't know how long that's been. Feels like it's been a while. Yeah. The bulk of it is I genuinely am sorry for the person who didn't get to the PT.
Yeah.
And
sad. That sucks that's how it goes down. It doesn't matter like what happened after the fact, like, you lost by the narrowest of margins.
Exactly. And these things do happen, and I'm sorry, and I hope you don't leave Magic and you do come back. I'm disappointed that everything that happened after for a game that I've loved for so long now went downhill so quickly. I don't think it is a permanent reflection of the community, and it has, mostly moved on from it now.
Yeah.
Everyone that's new coming into Magic, man, if you see us at LGSs and you live in Australia, come play with us.
Yeah.
Like, I'll give you a sticker with my face on it.
Yeah, oh, you still have a stack of those.
I have a stack of those.
Hell, I'll give you one of my decks to play against me. That's some of the most fun shit.
Do that regularly. We do that regularly, and just if you're hanging around Melbourne, we're probably playing Magic Sunday.
Yeah.
I've been Gramps.
I've been Chillybin.
Find us over at Casual Compliance, YouTube, TikTok, at Compliance Show on Twitter because someone else has Casual Compliance.
For what?
Exactly. And the Patreon as well. Thanks for watching. Let us know your thoughts.
Yeah.
Casualcompliance@gmail.com.